back into the 30s,
yes,
composers like Max Steiner use these themes really well. Gone with the Wind, 4 hours, beautiful. It has about 13 different leitmotifs. Not all of them are meant to be heard and recognized. And so it's not a thing for the listener necessarily, although it enhances your enjoyment if you know these themes and you recognize them. But it goes with the big theme, the terror theme. That's the dominant theme that you hear at the beginning. That's the one you remember. But these other themes help tell the story. And even if it's not telling the story, it sure helps the composer. So let's imagine you're writing Star Wars, and you didn't have leitmotifs. And you go, oh, here's another scene with that darn Darth Vader. What am I going to write this time? You know, instead of having, you've already got a theme for Darth Vader. So all you have to do is plug in that theme and how you're going to use that theme. And that's what Max Steiner did so well. He had these themes, these 13 themes, and he interwove them so you don't get too tired of any one theme. And then it helped make him go quickly because he had to write 4 hours of music in 2 weeks.
That's a lot in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
He wrote the score in 2 weeks.
And he got 4 hours of sleep in 2 weeks. There was a medical staff person at him all times to make sure he didn't keel over.
Couldn't they have given him an extra few days?
No, they gave him a lot of bennies. To tell the truth.
Well, that Tara theme is just... And before we play it, talk to me about the use of the octave. Because in the Tara theme, da-da-da-da, okay? And you hear that in Bali High, you hear it in Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Something about the octave is just sweeping.
So,
what is it?
It's one of the wonderful gestures of music. And what I like by Max Steiner's use of it is how he repeats it. We can imagine you've never heard this theme before. He's writing for an audience that's coming in for the first time. So he makes a theme that's really simple. And it starts off, I love you, Charles. I put words to themes. I love you, Brett. I love you, Ashley. You are the best. But you see how each of those things were the same motive?
Those are terrible lyrics, by the way.
Well,
but yes, I do see. Continue.
Putting motives to some themes helps you recognize them in the film. Because I can recognize, if I have something I'm trying to hear those themes, I put words to them, I sing them myself, and then I hear the words, actually, in the movie itself. So that's a no thing.
That works.
It works for me. But it's the repetition. It's such a simple thing. 4 little sub-phrases that are very similar. Then it repeats those same 4, and then it goes away, and it comes back and does that 8 more times. So by the time you hear it in the movie, it's an old friend. You know, oh, I know this tune. So it's brilliant how he put it together.
Is that one of those films that has a prelude, a prologue?
Yeah, it has a prelude beforehand, and an intermission, and postlude music.
They used to do that a lot in films.
Yeah, for these epic films, it was a very traditional thing.
Well, I guess it comes from theater.
Yeah.
I suppose. Shall we listen to the Tara theme?
Yeah, actually, I don't have the Tara theme, so my apologies. I took a relatively mundane, a simple theme that I like to watch from Gone with the Wind.
Now, is this a leitmotif or a theme?
Actually, it comes in. It's going to start with a leitmotif.
Okay.
Here we have a scene in which Scarlett has just heard that Ashley's going to marry Melanie. She's not happy about it. She wants to go in there and win him, and so she goes in there pledging her love. And the first thing we hear is actually a leitmotif of her love for Ashley. And I love you, Ashley, I do. It's in there, and you'll hear it in the background rather faintly. It's not one of the more memorable melodies, but every time she has a relationship that's loving towards him, you'll hear that in the movie. And then, when she's not getting the reaction she should be getting, or she expects from him, she starts to get a little angry. And this is what's so key, as I say, to the classical style. The music reflects her attitudes. In fact, the whole scene is from her point of view, musically speaking. So her emotions are gushing forward, love, her in the music. And as she turns a bit sour and eventually gets very angry, the music gets angry with her. She's the only one angry, but the score makes a side with her at this point. And then after Ashley leaves, she picks up a vase, throws it across the room. The music will whoo, and suddenly stop at a very interesting moment. So why don't we watch?
Oh, Ashley. Ashley, I love you.
Scarlett.
I love you, I do.
Well, isn't it enough that you've gathered every other man's heart today? You've always had mine. You've got your teeth on it.
Oh, don't tease me now. Have I your heart, my darling? I love you, I love you.
You mustn't say such things. You'll hate me for hearing them.
Oh, I could never hate you, and I know you must care about me. For you do care, don't you?
Yes. I care. Oh, can't we go away and forget we ever said these things?
But how can we do that? Don't you want to marry me?
I'm going to marry Melanie.
But you can't, not if you care for me.
Oh, my dear, why must you make me say things that will hurt you? How can I make you understand? You're so young and unthinking. You don't know what marriage means.
I know I love you and I want to be your wife. You don't love Melanie.
She's like me, Scarlett. She's part of my blood and we understand each other.
But you love me.
How could I help loving you? You who have all the passion for life that I lack. But that kind of love isn't enough to make a successful marriage for two people who are as different as we are.
Why don't you say it, you coward? You're afraid to marry me. You'd rather live with that silly little fool who can't open her mouth except say yes, no, and raise a passel of mealy-mouthed brats just like her.
You mustn't say things like that about Melanie.
Who are you to tell me I mustn't? You led me on. You made me believe you wanted to marry me.
Now, Scarlett, be fair. I never at any time...
You did. It's true you did. I hate you till I die. I can't think of anything bad enough to call you.
And you can see how that scene, there's nonstop music through it, which is typical of wall-to-wall scoring, and which made it effective when it suddenly stopped and made that line so funny when he pops up. It's just a great moment in this film because you had this drama and suddenly just really funny line, and that's how Scarlett meets Red Butler.
What strikes me, though, or what struck me, was the music was so perfectly wedded to the dialogue that it never was obtrusive. It rose precisely. Obviously, he's scoring to picture, but it rose with her emotions, and I was never really aware of it because it was so beautifully wedded. That's the mark of a good...
He would be so proud when you said that. Many of those composers have said multiple times, if somebody says they don't remember the music, I feel so good that I've done my job. I've written music that's helped create the film, generate emotions, and no one noticed. There's even a book called The Invisible Art about film music, which it is.
That's sort of unrewarding, but...
And interesting, that scene that follows, she leaves. We're talking about point of view and how the music was her point of view. She leaves, and she hears some women bad-mouthing her, and she's crying because she just lost the man she loves. Suddenly, the place erupts. They're going to have war. And they're playing Dixie, and there's joy everywhere. And the music is very joyful. And she's walking upstairs crying, tears down her eyes. So suddenly the music has joined everybody else, showing how isolated she is and how self-centered she is, that she can't understand there's something important going on, and the energy out. And so when Charles goes up, I'm going to war, and she says, war? Can't you men ever think about something important? And it's just, the music just really contradicts her, and it makes her seem, gives her personality, let's put it that way.
So you bring up two interesting points. Number one, that the music may not always be with the character. It may be counter, showing a different point of view. And also, this brings up the whole point about source music.
Yeah.
Will you explain that?
Sure. Source music, and it's very important if you're starting to follow film music in the beginning, that you understand there's two types of music basically in a film. One we call source music. Film majors may call it diegetic music, but it's basically music that is heard by the characters themselves. So if they turn on a radio, music should come out. If there's a dance band, you want to hear music playing. If some crazy lady's up on the top of the mountain spinning around as fast as she can singing, "The hills are alive," that's all source music. Even though you might say to yourself, gee, where's that orchestra in the mountain? That doesn't matter, okay? We just say she's singing, her mouth is moving, there's music coming out. And ultimately, if you push us in the corner, we're going to say she's imagining the orchestra. So she's still hearing it. This is what she's hearing. So You can use that as a last ditch effort to defend it. But this anything that the characters themselves can hear, and it's part of sound effects in a way. So that's source music. Underscoring, which we just heard in the previous excerpt, is something the characters can't hear. But it serves the role of the audience hears it. It helps guide our emotions. It tells you what the emotions of the characters are, and tells you how sometimes how the audience should feel about a situation.